If you haven't been here over the last few weeks, I just want to catch you guys up real quick, okay? So the very first week, we talked about awakening the what? The rebellious, okay? It's okay. It's been a few weeks ago. I don't remember what I ate for lunch, so it's okay. Awakening the rebellious. And we said this, following Jesus in 2023, right, in today's culture, might very well be the most rebellious thing you can do, right? We talked about that. The week after that, we talked about awakening the soil, and we talked about our heart posture. And we talked about if our heart is not in a place, if it is crowded, if it's not fertile, if it's hardened, what? The seed, God's word, will just bounce right off. And sometimes we don't even have room in our lives for Jesus to speak to us. Why? Because we don't have fertile soil. We don't have a fertile heart. Right, and we talked about awakening the soil, and Pastor Chase did an awesome job last week about awakening the tree and talking about the fruit. What fruit are you producing, right? And tonight we're going to continue our conversation, and we're going to talk about awakening the vine. How do I stay connected to Jesus? Maybe you have been saved over the last few weeks. Maybe you have gotten baptized, and maybe you're new to this whole church thing, and you're like, Tyler, what now? What now? And we're going to talk about it tonight. So, because I believe, I know it because I'm seeing it, a lot of people, a lot of you guys are awake, and you're transforming your school, you're transforming your home, and I am excited for what is to come because God ain't done, amen? He ain't done. If I ain't dead, he ain't done. Come on, if you ain't dead, he ain't done. Let's go. So, isn't it crazy sometimes how ordinary, mundane, just everyday things sometimes can actually be a God moment? I know for me, okay? The more and more I get connected with Jesus and the closer I get to Jesus, he just continues to reveal things to me, and I'm like, boy, that's the gospel, and I didn't even know it, right? I have a cell phone. Anybody got a cell phone, right? Okay, if you don't have a cell phone, do you have any kind of electronic device at your home, right? You guys tracking with me? Maybe a TV, a cell phone, iPad, tablet, something, right? We live in a digital age. I guarantee it, if it came to your house, you would have something that would require some power, right? You guys follow me? All right, so I have a cell phone, and oftentimes we do this, right? When we're falling asleep, maybe we have our phone, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're scrolling, you're dozing off, and the phone kind of ends up like this right here, right? Then you wake up early in the morning, and it's like, oh, man, I did not charge my phone. The thing is dead. Anybody been there? Anybody? It's okay. It's okay. We'll work on it. I'm working on it, right? And then our phone is dead, and then we're like, man, I did not plug my phone up. I'm late to school now, right? Anybody been there? Anybody been late to school before? You need to charge your phone, right? Maybe you have iPad, whatever it might be that you have forgotten to plug in and it did not charge, right? So I cannot get mad at my phone not being charged because I didn't plug it in, right? I can't get mad at my phone. I can't necessarily get mad at the charger. Charger, what are you doing, right? You didn't charge my phone. And now I thought about all these things. Maybe you're like, well, I don't have to have a charger. I'm wireless charging, right? Maybe that's you. I've thought about you. That's okay. You still have to place your phone on the charger, on the power source, correct? The same way we are sometimes with our relationship with God. We get mad at God. We get frustrated at God. God, why didn't you charge me up? And he said, bro, you've unplugged me. Bro, you've unplugged me. I can't charge you. Why? You've been disconnected from the power source. You guys tracking with me? You can write this down. We cannot expect to remain in Jesus when we have unplugged the power source. Welcome to youth. I'm glad you're here. If you have your Bible, turn to John chapter 15. John chapter 15. We're going to talk about this tonight. John chapter 15, this is amazing, and I've read this before, And one thing I love about the Bible, I can read it one time, 100 times, and God reveals something new to me every single time. That's how powerful this book is. John chapter 15, verse 1 through 6. If you're ready, say word. It's also in the magic Bible in the sky. Here we go. Y'all ready? Here we go. This is what it says. This is Jesus speaking. He says, I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit, so they will produce even more. That's key. You have already been pruned and purified by the message I have given you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it's been severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Yes, Jesus said, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me, and I in them, will produce much fruit. Come on. For apart from me, you can do nothing. Anyone who does not remain in me is thrown away like a useless branch and withers. Such branches are gathered into a pile to be burned, right? We just read some of this in Matthew in our opening text. So there are several things that we need to break down before moving forward, okay? There are several things that we have to identify, right? And the first thing is this. There's three things. The vine. The vine. You can write that down. The vine. The vine represents Jesus, okay? Number two, the gardener represents God. And number three, the two branches, which is us, okay? The difference in between the two, though, is one branch produces fruit and the other one does not. So we have the vine, the gardener, and the branches. One branch produces fruit, the other one does not. And the fruit of the vine symbolizes God's goodness to his people. Somebody say the fruit of the vine. Come on, like you mean it with your chest, the fruit of the vine. So in these verses, Jesus makes it very clear that there are two kinds of pruning, okay? This is what Jesus, the Holy Spirit, revealed to me. Number one, write this down, cutting back branches. Cutting back branches. And this is what I know. Fruitful branches are cut back to promote growth. Key word. Fruitful branches are cut back to promote growth. Ladies, make some noise. All right. So let me break this down for y'all. Fellas, we'll go a different round here in a minute. So, you know when you let your hair grow out, right? My hair's falling out, so I can't do this. So, you let your hair grow out, and it gets long, and then it stops growing, right? Tracking with me. Ladies, what you have to do, you got to go to the salon and cut off your what? Your dead ends, your split ends, right? Some of you fellas know a little bit about that. Some of you do not. But as long as we're on the same page, you have to cut off the dead ends, which was once good hair, right? But you got to cut it off to promote growth. Okay, so I was out in my yard Monday, and my wife blasted me, but that's okay. I'm going to show an image up on the screen. Look at this thing. All right, so I am not a very good keeper-upper of the stuff in my yard, okay? I don't have, look, that's terrible, okay? So once upon a time, this thing looked great, all right? When we've been in our house a little over 6 years, I have not touched this stuff since, like, the winter time. There was like this freeze that come through, and then like the great guy that I am, I did not cover up my stuff, and it died, all right? All this green stuff that you see right here, that was not there, okay? The whole thing was dead, all right? But honestly, probably about 4 months ago, I was like, hey, babe, I don't think they're dead, right? I think we're going to be okay. We don't have to dig up the whole yard and replace everything because I think there's some life still in them. And you know what I did? Nothing. Nothing. So I'm reading, and I'm like, bro, I'm about to expose myself, right? Something I needed to do a long time ago. Cutting back the branches. As you can see, like the green, the whole thing, man, used to be amazing. Amazing. And you know what I did? I was like, I'm going to go outside. man, I'm going to go outside, and I got me some snips. I'm like, I'm going to cut these things back because God's showing me several lessons to keep up with my bushes and to teach y'all something because he taught me something. And so this is what I did. I was like, I got my stuff. I'm like, I'm going to go out there. And then I did this. Boom, next picture. I think. I might be going out of order. Sorry, media team. Boom, look at that. Look at that. That is awesome. That is amazing. All right, so yeah, it took me like 20 minutes because I don't have the tools to do garden work. So I had like, I don't even know what I had, but I was cutting, man. So this is what I know. We're talking about cutting back branches, okay? These are the things that were once good, right? But now they need to be cut away so that you can have more life. And this is like the surface level type stuff, okay? These are good things. Everybody say good things. These are good things. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are bad. But I wanted to give some practical examples because I know, look, I was in school one time, okay? I know. This is what I mean by this. These are once good things that the Bible is telling us to cut out of our life because Jesus wants more growth. Jesus wants you to be more connected to him that you've never been. But there's some things that you're like, I don't want to cut that out. I don't want to cut that out. Like this. Instead of maybe playing 3 sports, maybe play 1. Maybe. Right? Maybe instead of playing travel ball, maybe you play locally. I'm going to set you free. We've had one guy in my 30 years of existence that made it into the league, all right? I'm just saying, you ain't going to the league. Parents, your kid ain't going to the league. I'm going to set you free. One guy made it, and now he don't play ball anymore. It don't matter. One guy. I know how it is. Well, I'm a missionary in my dugout. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. What once was good has now turned into a problem and has disconnected you from the very community that Jesus has put around you. Don't make me start preaching tonight. And now you're out of church on Sunday, not coming on Wednesdays because of a game. I'm just saying. I've seen it. I'm just saying. Maybe instead of 3 clubs, pick 1. Pick 1, dude. Just pick 1. Maybe instead of dating that boy or girl, don't date nobody. I'm just saying. Don't date nobody. I'm just saying, I can set you free with this. If you have 0 intentions of marrying that person, forget them. 0 intentions. If you don't think you will spend the rest of your life with that person, don't bother. You're wasting their time, their parents' money, and I promise you, they ain't gonna like you no way. All right? That boy, that girl, whatever it is, get rid of them. You know you ain't marrying them. You're wasting your time. I'm just saying. This is what I know. Cutting back branches is removing what was once good to make room for more growth. So we're going to go back to the trimmed bush. We had to cut some stuff back. I'm sorry. Did I give y'all time to write that down? I'll repeat it. I'm sorry. So cutting back, I have a bad habit. I like to talk. Cutting back branches is removing what was once good to make room for more growth. Like I said, all those things I just talked about, they're not necessarily bad, but they're in the way. They're in the way. So, I'll give y'all some time. I'm sorry. I get ahead of myself. I'm just passionate about this stuff. It's so good. Yep, go back. Cutting back. Sorry, Jasmine. Cutting back branches is removing that bush. Cutting back branches. I'm so sorry. I'm going to get some water. Y'all go ahead. My wife told me to slow down. I'm sorry. There you go. No, your mom doing her job. It's me. I'm always the problem, Josie. It's always the youth guy, right, Chase? It's always my fault breaking stuff. That's okay. Now we good. A little bit more time. Jeez. That's okay. I am too. My handwriting's bad. That's why I used. All right, here we go. Now we got to go. Run out of time. So let's go back to the trim bush. All right. Trim bush picture. So that looks drastically different, correct? Yeah. You think that thing's going to grow now? Yes. So is when God really started working, okay? So I cut that thing off. It took like 20 minutes. I'm like, bruh, there's got to be a better way. So I get like halfway through, and my arm, I can't make this up, my arm like hit it because I'm like reaching around trying to dig, and some stuff just started falling off. And I was like, I think there's a better way. I don't think I need to be out here with these snips. I'm wondering if I just did this. I'm about to show you a clip. Look at this. Watch. Just watch. I promise you. Y'all didn't know. It's in my front yard looking like a fool. You didn't know there was a message in this, though. Look at that. Look at that. I was like, there's a better way. Yes. All right, so enough about that. I said, there's a better way. And I'm like, you mean to tell me, check this out. This is where you listen. It's like, you mean to tell me I just spent the last 20 minutes snipping a bunch of junk that I could just grab and it be gone in a matter of seconds? I don't think you heard me. I think sometimes we try to trim the things back that we try to trim back, and it's not really working, and God's just saying, hey, if you let me have it, I can take the whole thing away just like that. I can cut it back for you. And I'm sitting there in my front yard just crying, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And you know what? What took me 20 minutes to do one, I got done the whole yard in a matter of minutes. Why? Because it was way easier than I thought it was. I don't need to do it my way anymore. I want to do it the way God has planned for me, because he can take it away and he can cut those things off way faster than I can ever think or imagine. We think it's so hard. The very things you've been trying to, what I say, 6 months, y'all. 6 months. That junk's been sitting in my yard, and it went away like that. I'm telling you, some of y'all hear it, some of you see it. The things that we need to cut back aren't that very hard. And the very things you think are going to be the most difficult to cut back are actually some of the easiest things to let go of. You hearing me tonight? Come on. All this cutting off, right? So we can continue to be more connected to the vine, which is who? Which is who? It's simple. Who? Jesus. It's always the answer. So that was cutting back. Now the other that was discussed in the pruning is cutting off branches, better known as branches that don't bear fruit or do not produce any fruit. Branches that don't bear fruit are cut off at the trunk, not only because they are worthless, but they could infect, everybody say infect, the rest of the plant. Now, we're going to go back to the good-looking bush picture again, okay? Work with me. I'm a gardener now. Garden stuff. All right. We've been in our house like 6 years, all right? I can say I've done a decent job. There's some stuff I need to clean up. But there's not any weeds. There's not like weird junk growing around, right? I just didn't trim it. So, but if you can just imagine for a moment that I have not touched our mulch in 6 years, okay? Got a visual, all right? I tried to find a picture. It didn't work. So just work with me, all right? Every single day I go out, you ask my wife, we get out of the van. I'm like, boom, just because I'm weird, all right? But if I did not do that across our house, we haven't trimmed it yet, it would just be bad, right? And Lord knows what will grow, right? If you become a homeowner one day, stuff just starts growing, and it's weird, okay? So just imagine this entire area just infected, nasty, man, just spiders, different types of just junk all over the place, okay? And this is the visual that they're talking about here. Cutting off branches, cutting off things and uprooting things, not just that are in the way from your growth, but have zero growth, zero fruit, and actually causing way more harm than any good, right? Because they're separate. Two different things, cutting back and cutting off. They're not the same, okay? We're talking about the difference between the two, because this one is so deeper. and so much more impactful and has more impact in your life than you actually think. Because why? It can infect, it can hinder your growth, it gets in the way, and it will overtake you. We're talking about stuff like gossip, talking about stuff like cheating, talking about stuff like pornography. Yeah. It's not funny. Pornography, it's just so sickening. Pornography industry makes more money than any basketball, football, NHL, anything you can ever think or imagine. It makes more money than that. Yeah, disgusting. What did we talk about week 1? What were they saying? There's a lot of kids out searching for the right things, but all in the wrong places, and their motives was love, sex, and rock and roll. Nothing has changed, and we're in 2023. Nothing has changed. It's sickening. And it is ruining our culture. Ruining it. Fellas, just because you get married, they don't go away. I promise you. That type of stuff that you need to uproot out of your life, because it will overtake you like a fungus that you've never seen before, and it will not only ruin you, it will ruin your relationship, it'll ruin your kids, and it's something if you can kick and get out of here at 16, you won't have to be dealing with it after you're married and have kids. Come to men's group on Monday night. Let's find out. I dare you. You don't think it's real? Show up. But I've seen God do it, and I know he can do it again. Come on, somebody. It's okay. Talking about those type of things. Sex outside of marriage. Those type of things. Well, he loves me. No, he don't. No, he don't. Promise you he don't. Those type of things. Deeper issues. If your life has truly been transformed by Jesus, the evidence of him living in you will speak for itself. Why? Because Jesus changes you from the inside out. He is into heart transformation. He is a surgeon. And boy, the behavior modification will follow. I promise. I promise. You can write this down. Cutting back is what shapes you, but cutting off is what transforms you. I'm just saying. This sounds depressing, don't it? That's okay. I'll be honest with you. I think it does a little bit. What? I can't do that anymore. What? I don't want to do that. Okay. But there's good news. Somebody say good news. Some of us, there's good news in the very next page of your life if you just turn it. But we got to keep reading because verse 7, here we go. Everybody say verse 7. But if you remain in me and my words remain in you, you may ask for anything you want. And we got to stop right here because sometimes I feel like, well, I want $1 million, God. It don't work like that. He's not just talking about physical things. He's talking about if your heart is in the right place and you pray for some, what we say a couple weeks ago, you have as much access as the Holy Spirit as you want. If your heart is in the right place, if you have fertile soil and you're like, God, speak to me more. God, show me more. God, I want less of me and more of you. God, I want wherever I go, you go. God, everything that I do, I want it to be for you. I'm going to give you the credit. I'm going to give you the glory. God, send more. Send more. Send more. That's what he's talking about. Don't take this out of context and, well, I want a new car. God, well, you don't put gas in the car you got now. Come on, somebody. Verse 8, when you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples. This brings great glory to my Father. I have loved you even as my Father has loved me. Remain in my love. When you obey my commandments, you will remain in my love, just as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love. I have told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. This is my commandment. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. I don't know if you picked up on this, but in my Bible, I highlighted every single time he said remain. And if you didn't catch it, I know this is important. When God says something once, when Jesus says something once, we got to pay attention. But when this man says something 10 times, I think it's even more important. 10 times. 10 times. You know why I think he says it's 10 times? Because sometimes it takes 10 times for us to see it and to wake up to it. 10 times he just said, remain in me, and I will remain in you. If you didn't get anything else out of this whole entire thing, if you've been goofing off, if you've been doing whatever, sit up, write this down, and take a hold of this. Because this will change your life. People who do not remain in Jesus or try to block out the efforts of God's followers will be cut off from his life-giving purpose. Cut off. Colin said it so good this morning at FCA. He will say one of two things: enter in, you good and faithful servant, or depart from me, for I never knew you. You'll be cut off. All the things were just thrown and burned. Not because we want to have a girlfriend. We want to run ourselves and our parents dry their bank account because you want to be on some team, dude. And it removed you from church, removed you from your community. Ain't got nobody praying for you on the regular. Come on, man. Jesus will be the one thing that will never go away. Here's the deal. I don't really understand some surface level prayers of God be with us. You might have heard this said. Some people praying, God. Christians say, God be with us. Wake up. He's always here. It's just your decision whether or not you want to tap into him or not. He's always with you. He's omnipresent. Be with us. He's already with you, bro. Let's move on past that. I want to go back to our opening text now, Matthew chapter 7. Verse 15. This is what it says, beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep, but are really vicious wolves. You can identify them by their fruit, that is, by the way they act. Can you pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? A good tree produces good fruit, and a bad tree produces bad fruit. A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. So every tree that does not produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into the fire. Yes, just as you can identify a tree by its fruit, so you can identify people by their actions. I already know what you're about to ask, but Tyler, I know some really good people who don't follow Jesus, right? I don't got to follow Jesus to be good. Maybe that's you. Maybe you know them, and maybe that's been your excuse. Oh, but they're good, man. They're good. Here's what I know, though. Maybe you saw somebody, man, they gave away $1 million. Right? That's awesome. But they're not Christian. But that was good, Tyler. But, man, they gave away. Man, they helped the homeless. They fed people. That was good. Yeah, but not for their glory. Here's what I know. True disciples of Jesus, they do good without telling people. That's how I see it. True people, true disciples of Jesus, they'll help their friend. Man, they'll help their brother. A lot of times people who are good people, all they do it is for themselves. Look what I did that to build their kingdom. This is what I know, though. Every Christ follower who does good and does what Jesus commands points every single thing back to Jesus. Not me, Jesus. I didn't do this. Jesus. Jesus. This is for Jesus. This is for his kingdom. This is to grow his kingdom. I don't got to tell anybody. I ain't got to tell nobody. Why? Because I just want to be obedient to what God's told me to do, and I don't care who knows. They ain't got to know. I did it for Jesus. I did it so other people can come to know him. I don't have to get the credit. That's the difference. So we ask this question, how do we stay connected to Jesus? You guys ready for the answer? Cool. It's real simple. It's so easy. Like we think this is so hard. You guys ready? How do we stay connected to Jesus, Tyler? You ready? By remaining in Jesus. That's it. That's it. You're like, that's it. That's it, dude. That is it. I believe you have to ask yourself, because now you might be asking, well, how do I do that? And I believe you have to ask yourself, what kind of fruit are you producing? You're already trying to change stuff. You don't even know what to change. Right? Remain in me. Remain in me. Everybody say remain. Come on, remain in Jesus. In Jesus. But Tyler, it got hard. Remain in Jesus. But Tyler, man, it started out, we had a room full of people at FCA, and the lady asked me to speak. Colin, where you at? Colin, let me ask you a question. If here in a couple months, you get asked to do what you did today, okay? Ain't nobody in FCA. Nobody. But you knew one person would come. And the teacher was like, Colin, we're canceling it. We're not doing it no more. Ain't nobody gonna come. But you knew one person was coming. Would you still do it? You would. Good. But Tyler, I go and I ask people to come to church, but they're not coming anymore, right? You're still gonna do it. I think it's super easy to remain in Jesus when stuff is good. But I promise you, and I know if you stay consistent and you keep walking the way Jesus wants you to walk, you remain in him and he will remain in you. It doesn't matter what happens outside of you. You have to stay connected to the vine. It's Jesus. It's Jesus. I ask myself, Tyler, if 2 people come on a Wednesday, would I still do it? Yes. You know how hard that would be, though? Hours and hours and hours, and the band practicing and everything. You know what, though? God said 10 times. Jesus said 10 times, remain. I don't think I'm going to take him seriously. Because I know it's easy to do it during good times, man. It's great. 8 baptisms, 7 last week, 5 salvations. That's incredible.